Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm talking to you from Delhi, and I'm talking to you about a major event that took place today. Members of the Arab League came to India and met Prime Minister Modi and also met with Dr. Jaishankar. There was a closed door meeting, and this was hailed as an India Arab League summit, a summit that has happened after 10 years. This is the second India Arab League summit. It is being hailed here in Delhi as a very important event. It highlights apparently India's growing political significance in the world geopolitics. It is also an acknowledgement of India as a rising power. It also shows the relationship that India enjoys with the Gulf and the Arab world. So there's a lot of hype around it. Already, some media, like the Outlook India, is calling it a lot of symbolism without any substance. But I'm quite pessimistic and critical about what really happened. Well, not really about what happened. I'm more critical about uh, how it is being portrayed as some kind of a major event, as if this is like a G20 summit or a G7 summit or something like that, or a BRICS summit with some significant outcomes. So anyway, first let me tell you what exactly happened and how it is being read by especially the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, and how some Arab states are talking about it. And then I will talk to you about what I think really is going on here. So the first thing that I want to say is that even though it was hailed as an Arab League, there are 22 Arab nations. Not all Arab countries were really represented. I've been searching and scanning, and I did not find any senior foreign minister of Saudi Arabia, or the deputy foreign minister of Saudi Arabia. Neither was here. Adil Jubair is their number two, and Faisal is their number one. Neither of them were here in India. And so there were only two or three countries, I think, which were represented by full foreign ministers. Some of the countries sent their minister of state for foreign affairs. And then a lot of other countries were sending some senior officials. There was also the general secretary of the Arab League. But really, it was not like when you see the BRICS foreign ministers, ministers summit. That's 10 days in Delhi so far. So the cough is beginning to come, I guess. So the it's not like the foreign ministers summit of BRICS or of SCO, which is quite prominent, and you get to hear speeches by all these ministers, etc. None of that has happened really here. There are reports that Prime Minister Modi talked about how important historical and civilizational connections we have. It's interesting that we just use these words without really spelling out what those civilizational connections are between Saudi Arabia and India, for example, or for that matter, between Jordan and India, or Morocco and India, or Algeria and India. There were no representatives, I think, from any of these at the ministerial level from the countries that I just mentioned. I think there was a deputy or state minister from Jordan. So, nevertheless, Prime Minister Modi talked about shared values, shared cultures, shared civilization, etc., and hailed how great the relationship between the Arab world, Arab League, and the and India was. Really, if that was the case, then why was there no second Arab League and India summit for 10 years? The first one happened in 2016 in Bahrain. The second was supposed to happen in India, probably in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. None at all, actually. This is the first Arab League summit that the Modi government is hosting since its election in 2014. The 2016 summit, the first one was hosted by Bahrain, but this is the first one in 11 years that Prime Minister Modi felt the need to host such an event, even though he claims that there are some very strong ties between the two. So So that is one reason, and I know what the reason is. The reason is that Prime Minister Modi is going to Israel next month and is going to make announcements about major defense manufacturing, defense trade deals. The total amount is going to be about $8.7 billion worth of military collaboration and cooperation with Israel. Israel, which just finished committing a genocide in Gaza. And the Arabs nations are very upset and angry about it. And so now they're going to see India go there and build military and defense ties with Israel while giving symbolic speeches here with the Arab world and then pretend that India has equal relations with both worlds, that they have shared interests, etc. Now, there are other relations, like there are the trade relations with the Arab countries is over $240 billion between the two countries, between India and all the Arab League countries, primarily because of the nearly $100 billion trade that India enjoys with United Arab Emirates. And India is a major buyer of oil and natural gas and petroleum products, etc., from countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and others. So there is a lot of trade, undoubtedly, and there are about uh, literally 10 million Indians who work in the Gulf countries. And not just Gulf countries, even in places like Libya and beyond that, there are Indians working. I don't know about other countries, but I do know in Libya, I had classmates from my engineering school who went to work in Libya. So yes, there is a lot of trade definitely between India and the Arab world, but that was not emphasized in this conference at all. The thing that the one issue that the Arabs countries were really raising essentially is the Gaza issue. So for them, they were talking about stabilization of Gaza, the peace process of Gaza, all of that. And once again, Prime Minister Modi and Dr. Jaishankar essentially gave uh, a very kind of lip service. Oh, we support the people of Gaza. We have already supported them. Just because we sold weapons to Israel while it was killing thousands of women and children in Israel, in Gaza, and committing genocide, that doesn't mean we don't care about the Palestinians. We really care about them. We have always supported their right to a two-state solution, sovereignty, etc., even though we never actually did anything about it. So anyway, that lip service continued, and I don't know how stupid the Arab countries are to continue to buy that rhetoric when they can see that there's so much of defense-related cooperation. In fact, India is becoming extremely dependent on Israel for advanced technology, missiles, etc., even electronics for some of its fighter jets. They're buying thousands of some advanced level of missiles from Israel, intelligence equipment, surveillance, etc. So the high tech that India is unable to produce, in spite of a lot of talk about Atmanirbhar, India doesn't invest much in research and science at all, really, these days. In fact, like I told you guys a few weeks ago, the ranking of ARVU, like academic ranking of world universities, which is based purely on scientific research, no perceptions, no job performance by students, etc. Just the scientific output of those universities. In the top 500 universities, 110 were or 111 were American and 108 were Chinese, and none of the top 500 universities was from India. So you can see that India is not investing as much as Israel invests, especially in defense research. So for India, Israel has become the only source now for advanced technology in weaponry after what happened during Operation Sindoor. India is rebooting on its air capacity. So it is buying air defense systems from Israel. It's trying to buy additional large number of Rafales from France. So essentially closing the barn door after the horses have bolted. But so India's dependence on Israeli weaponry is increasing, and that is going to be highlighted in the announcements that Prime Minister Modi will make when he goes to Israel next month. But I guess this is a preemptive effort by the Ministry of External Affairs to essentially assuage any potential criticism that might come from so-called Arab partners and allies of India, and I'm clearly using the word allies rather loosely here. They are not really, India does not have any allies at all. Actually, India is not part of any alliance in the world. They have defense agreements and partnerships, etc. So, so I think this whole rigmarole and showbiz is just to, uh, I don't know to whom they are trying to send this message. Some of the Arab countries are quite desperate. Look at Sudan. Sudan has become pariah. In fact, India is getting far more closer to the Abrahamic Accords countries like Israel and UAE. And Abraham Accords is the only club on earth where right now two of its countries have been involved in genocide in 2025. That is Sudan and Israel. So it's a pretty special club, to say the least, the Abraham Accords Club. And India is getting pretty close. It's a very, very close strategic cooperation with UAE and very close strategic partnership with Israel. UAE's foreign minister, Mr. Nahyan, was also here. He was co-chairing the segment. So this meeting was essentially a partnership between uh, uh, essentially a partnership, or shall we say, it was jointly hosted or co-chaired by the foreign minister of UAE and India's foreign minister, Dr. Jaishankar. That alone shows that India is kind of leaning now towards this new emerging alliance in the Arab world, which is the Israel UAE faction of the Middle East. So the Middle East is getting geopolitically divided. You see an emerging partnership between Saudi Arabia and Israel, Pakistan. And so you have Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. There are chances that Turkey might join it. The Turkish Foreign Minister, Mr. Fidan, gave a very tough statement recently. Basically, he's trying to tell the Saudis and the Pakistanis, look, if this is going to be a serious defense, mutual defense partnership, then we are going to enter it. But if it's just symbolism, then just count us out. So there is that alignment taking place. There is a huge tension between Saudi Arabia and UAE over Yemen, a very deep disagreement about Yemen. Plus, on top of that, UAE has become like the poster child of Israel. In fact, you could say there are professors in the United States who are arguing that UAE is like the Trojan horse of Israel in the Gulf and in the Arab world. In fact, in all international organizations where it is there, it seems to be advancing more the interest of Israel than any of those organizations. So there is this perception that UAE is basically become a proxy for Israel in the Middle East. And so there is this growing competition and tension between Saudi Arabia and UAE, and the fact that none of the senior ministers from Saudi Arabia attended this meeting. For those of you who think it is about energy, etc., then there should have been Iraqis there, there should have been Iranians there should have been Russians there, or even Saudis, but there were no senior ministers from Saudi Arabia or Iraq, some of the major suppliers of oil to India. Yes, the Qataris were there, but it was a low-level minister of state from Qatar. So I think that because India recently had this visit by the Sheikh of UAE, the president of UAE visited India for about 3 hours, and they announced a defense partnership. India seems to be now being aligned with countries which are aligned against Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. So there are two dividing lines now. One is Arabs versus Israel. And clearly, in that, India is trying to pretend that it is on both sides because it has huge financial connections to the Arab world. India's trade with Israel is just 6.5 to $7 billion a year, but its trade with Arab League countries is $240 billion. And on top of that, like I said, nearly 10 million Indians, 1 crore Indians work in various Arab countries. And the amount of remittances that India gets is in hundreds of billions, not hundred, but dozens of billions of dollars. The total remittances to India is a little above $100 billion, but a lot of it also comes from the US. So I think probably about 30 to 40 or even $50 billion worth of remittances are coming from Indians who work in the Middle East. So India can't afford to completely ruin that, but India is becoming more and more embedded into the Israeli ecosystem. And that is at some point going to either upset some Arab countries, or we'll see what happens about it, because Saudi Arabia's strong refusal to become part of the Abraham Accords. In fact, while Dr. Jaishankar and Modi were hosting these Arab Leagues, Saudi Arabia's defense minister was in Washington, D.C. today, and along with the Israelis, and they had conversations with the Trump administration. And Senator Lindsey Graham made some comments to the Israeli press, or not the Israeli press, the Jewish Insider. I think he made a comment to the Jewish Insider saying, I'm not very happy with the things that Saudi Arabia is doing, but I understand, after talking to them, I understand what they are doing. And basically, he said what Saudi Arabia is doing is not a threat to Israel. I guess everything is about Israel. Whereas the Trump administration, when it says America first, what it really means is Israel first and Israel last. So in the Middle East, so everything is about Israel. So America is not worried about what Saudi Arabia is doing as to how it impacts the US, but they are now happy that it does not threaten Israel or any of Israeli interests, whatever they may be. But nevertheless, the Saudis are realigning and constructing new, shall we say, geopolitical. They're shifting the lines of the fault lines in the region. So it's not just about Arab Israel anymore, because some Arab states are with Israel. Sudan, Morocco, Bahrain, and UAE are basically along with Kazakhstan, part of the Abraham Accords. They have normalized relations with Israel. And then there are some Arab countries who are still resisting it. Add to that Jordan and Egypt, who also have good relations with Israel. So Israeli hegemony over the Middle East is getting institutionalized, let's say. Its military power is enormous. I guess the Arabs might be getting nightmares. They must be getting up scared to death at night. Oh, Israel, oh my God, now I can't sleep till morning, get me some hot milk or whatever. So the Arabs are basically scared to death of Israel's military power. The only country that really stood up during this entire 2 years of genocide in Gaza was Iran, and Iran has been more or less tamed. The only time the Arabs fought in the last 2 years was to defend Israel from attacks from Iran. That's the only time Arab countries' militaries came into action, especially Jordans. Even they send their daughters up into air to protect Israel. So Israeli hegemony is more or less established, but some countries are trying to find ways to give them some strategic autonomy. So countries like Saudi Arabia, I think, feel free to look at others because the threat of Iran has diminished significantly. So they feel a bit more emboldened, even though Saudis are trying to also keep relations with Iran. And in this meeting that the Saudi defense minister had, they expressed a lot of concern and fear and unhappiness with America's military buildup in the Gulf. They do not want the United States to attack Iran. They feel that they might be the target of Iranian retaliation and instability in the region, and so on and so forth. Nobody wants a war in your neighborhood, especially if it is not in your own self-defense. So the things are becoming far more complicated in this whole region. But as far as I see, the Arab countries have become totally desperate. They have no capabilities. Even those who have a lot of wealth, a lot of money, they do not have a population which can fight. They do not have militaries that are capable of defending their own countries, no matter how much money they spend on their defense, no matter how many weapons they buy. These countries are not secure. They don't feel secure with their own military capabilities. They're desperately always on the lookout for a daddy, somebody who can protect them. And it's now basically like the Iranians used to call the US and Israel as big Satan and small Satan. But I think as far as the Arabs are concerned, They have a big daddy and a small daddy. The big daddy is Trump, and small daddy is Netanyahu. So they are looking at these people. Please protect us from ourselves, basically. So that's the reason. And Turkey and other countries who talk a lot, I mean, the so-called powers of the Middle East, like Egypt, are incapable of filling the vacuum that may emerge if the United States decides to withdraw, or even a balancing vacuum if Iran's capacity diminishes. Of course, if Iran's government collapses, then you're going to have tremendous chaos there, especially if the United States and Israel try to install a monarchy there. Oh my God, I can just imagine it will be worse than what happened in Iraq. And what happened in Iraq was ISIS emerged out of that. God knows what is going to emerge out of Iran if the regime collapses. Not that the regime is worth saving, it has been so brutal to its own populations. By some accounts, they have killed 3 to 5,000. Some people are saying 20,000. And then people keep adding on the numbers, so on and so forth. We will see what really happens. But the more concrete things that are happening is between India and Israel, and between India and UAE, and everything else is all just symbolic rubbish talk. India is not going to do anything for the Palestinians. They do not even criticize, they don't even use the word genocide. And then India keeps talking about, oh, we let's condemn terrorism. There is lots of terrorism that is not acknowledged as terrorism. There are minorities that are being killed by gangs that have close relations to governments, and they are not being labeled as domestic terrorists. But there are groups in India like Bajrang Dal, others, who go around lynching people, murdering people, burning down houses, all kinds of horrible things. They terrorize populations, and they're not deemed as domestic terrorists. But there is also an interesting rumor going on. So I've been in Delhi for the last 10 days. I have met lots of people. I visited think tanks, from extreme right-wing think tanks like Vivekananda International Foundation, where I gave a talk, to left-wing think tanks and also met with professors, with ambassadors, with national security advisors who had just been retired. That is deputy people who worked with Ajit Doval and others, and uh, there is a clear shift in what's going on in the Middle East. And one interesting thing is that when the rumor is that when India sent its multi-party delegation to all these countries worldwide after Operation Sindoor, if you remember, most of it was just showbiz and failure. None of them ever came out and condemned Pakistan for terrorism. There was pushback from many countries, even in the Middle East, who did not buy India's narrative at all. In fact, made some even ask questions about the situation in Kashmir and so on and so forth. So India is a little bit worried about what is happening to its reputation in the Middle East. They did get some pushback even from countries in Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and other places. So India is a bit worried about whether it is just as solid as it was, say, 2 years ago uh, in in the Gulf as well as other parts. We'll see. There are no formal statements that are coming out of the Arab world, which may indicate to us that there is some tension in the relationship. But we have seen countries, even countries like UAE, which have eased financial provided some financial relief to Pakistan, and of course, Pakistan's growing stature with Donald Trump in the United States. India is just talking about supporting Palestinians in Gaza, but Pakistan is now involved in the peace process. And remember, the peace process that Donald Trump has initiated, it has been approved by the Security Council of the United Nations. So, with the UNSC resolution backing it, it has become the legal international effort to improve the situation of Gaza and work on the peace, whatever, stabilization of the peace and ceasefire, etc. So that is that now not just Donald Trump's private thing, it is also been endorsed by the UN Security Council. So there is a legitimacy to it. And Pakistan is more involved in it than India is. So we will see. India was invited. India has, I don't think, formally denied it, but has not already accepted it. So we will see. India was invited to be part of the Board of Peace. Pakistan has joined the Board of Peace, and so has Saudi Arabia. We will see what happens going forward, but it was an interesting development. It shows that cannot take its relations with the Arab League for granted, like it did for 10 years. From 2016 until now, there was no thought of holding a second Indo Arab League summit, and now suddenly they do. And my guess is, my argument here is that India is doing that to create some semblance of, I'm getting married to Israel, and you know what, I'm going to smile at you, or I'm going to wave at you. So we are, so you can think that I'm with you as well as with Israel. So Modi is going to Israel in April, next month, and he's going to make those big announcements. They've already been announced that in January itself, that India intends to procure $8.7 billion worth of weapons. We don't know over what period of time. So India-Israel trade will go from somewhat $6.57 billion a year to perhaps 8 or even $9 billion in 2026. So for Israel, this is a bonanza because India is the number one market for Israeli weapons. Israel is not the biggest supplier for India. The biggest supplier is still Russia, then followed by France. And I think in 2025, the US may have been a bigger supplier of weapons than Israel. So Israel so far has been supplying about $1 billion worth of weapons to India every year. But now with this big procurement, it might even, well, because of Rafale, it will still be behind France. So it will become third biggest supplier of weapons to India after Russia, France, and Israel will be the third. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you today. I'm still in Delhi. I had a great day today. Yesterday I went to the Qutub Minar for the first time, and today I went in search of Mirza Ghalib, the famous Urdu poet's house. It was in Bali Maran, and oh my God, just getting there was an adventure. I really enjoyed it. I had to take one of those first getting to the Jama Masjid behind which Bali Maran is. I had to use an auto rickshaw with. Well, I did enjoy one in Colombo. So because Ubers were not going there, and then from there, I took a smaller electric rickshaw, which is smaller in size, and went through really tiny lanes looking for Ghalib's house. And I did take some photographs, which I'll share with all of you. And I see Mature Minds there. I'll take your question first. Last night, Mature Minds was complaining that I had not taken his question. But before that, please, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and press the bell icon. All right, Mature Minds, I see that you have made lots of comments. Let me see, what have you said? Is India's sudden security interest in the Middle East to antagonize Pakistan's recent impactful engagement in the Middle East? Antagonize, no, perhaps to balance. I think India is getting nervous that Saudi Arabia is getting more and more aligned with Pakistan. And India is, like I said, a bit nervous about its own stature in the Middle East. And India has lots of financial interests. I don't know why India is putting that in jeopardy by becoming so pro-Israel. I mean, there's a lot of anger towards Israel in the entire Arab world. And India, like I said, the total trade is over $240 billion, which is more than India's trade with Europe, double that of India's trade with the US and China, separately, that is, or equal to the total trade with Europe and China, or around that. India does about 130, 135 with those three, and 240 with the Arab League. And like I said, a huge amount of remittances coming from there. So this is just to say that, oh, we still care of you. Like I said, Modi is going to Israel, and so they met the foreign. They didn't even plan to have a heads of state, because they'll be loitering with, he's going to go on dates with Netanyahu on the beach and stuff like that in Israel when he gets there. If you remember the last time they took a photograph on the beach, Modi and Netanyahu. But if he wanted to show that I'm treating both together, then why did he have a summit of heads of states? Why wasn't MBS invited? MBZ would come. He comes all the time to India, but Sisi and the Sheikh of Qatar, all of that, none of them would have come. So they went low level. And even at the ministerial level, there weren't many foreign ministers. They were all ministers of state or someone below that. There are just two or three, I think, full foreign ministers who came. Uh, Jilani Sabun Saab, Walaikum Salam. Thank you very much for your good wishes. Uh, I think India only comes to bread left off. I guess so. But, India has lots of manpower to offer. India has crores of people. The Middle East still needs labor. And India also sells a lots of things like vegetables and food, etc. A lot of Indians now are going and living. Gavaskar lives in Dubai. A lot of rich Indians. The moment people become rich in India, they don't want to live in India. They just move out. People are buying citizenship in Portugal. People are buying the golden visa in Dubai. I met some IT people from Hyderabad who say that the cost of living in Dubai is just twice that of Hyderabad, but the streets are clean, the air is clean, the schools are good, the traffic is orderly, there's complete security, there's no crime, no horrible stuff happening in Dubai, like, oh, today this person was lynched, oh, today that person was killed, oh, there's this protest. None of that is happening in Dubai. So a lot of these rich people are going out of India and living in Dubai, a lot of them. So India has lots of those kind of relationships, relationships of convenience and trade with some of these Arab countries. So for the Arabs, these are rich people coming. So the property prices of things in a lot of people are buying properties in Dubai. So guess some of those sheikhs who own those buildings, etc., are making money. So money is coming into Dubai. It's also a place where a lot of money laundering is taking place. Thank you, Chaudhry, for your comment. Is India sudden? I already did that, mature. So, what is this? Sir, USA doing the same double game for last 50 years, and India's action is nothing as compared to USA, which has destroyed many countries without any. I don't know. Are you saying that India is about to destroy some countries? No, the USA is doing the same double game. Well, there's a slight difference. These people are actively seeking security and protection from the US. Saudi Arabia has been trying for a defense pact with NATO-like defense pact with the US, wanted civilian nuclear program in exchange for normalization with Israel. But they're not asking anything like this. They're not asking India to come protect us. None of them. None of the Arab countries are seeking anything. The only closest defense discussion came was when the UAE Emir came on this very short visit to India. He was just trying to signal to Saudi Arabia that, okay, if you have Turkey and Pakistan on your side, I have India on my side. I guess that's the message. That was the whole point of him coming to India for just 2 or 3 hours. 3 hours or less than that. Probably Pakistan and India are the only example having such a homogenized population in terms of culture and yet are in conflict. you always say that. You always miss my question. No, this is the second one I've taken in the last 5 minutes. Yeah, but that's a very good point. Is that all this talk of civilization and commonality, yet there's so much tension. Forget about between India and Pakistan, which are two countries, but look at the tension inside India also. So there's more tension even within India. So yeah. Oh, this is an interesting question. Hi, what are the chances India joining Belt and Road Initiative, ditching USA, and opening Pakistan border? So one of the reasons why India has not joined Belt and Road Initiative is because of the Karakoram Highway and CPEC, because India believes that the BRI that is links China to Pakistan violates India's territory. It goes through territory that Pakistan has occupied in Kashmir. So that is the problem for India. At least they made that. They can just ignore that and join it if they feel that they are part of it. In fact, I think nearly every country in South Asia is part of the Belt and Road Initiative now, and even India's buddy, the terrorist country of Afghanistan with terrorist Taliban in charge. India talks of zero tolerance for terrorism, but aligns itself with Afghanistan and Taliban. Anyway, so even Taliban was joining the CPAC project, if you remember. There were two meetings between the Pakistani foreign minister and the Afghan foreign minister going and meeting Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, and then Wang Yi coming to Pakistan and then going to Afghanistan on the same day. So there was a lot of movement last year on this trilateral thing. To do what you're suggesting would be very interesting. I mean, I would support something like this. But you need a gutsy prime minister with a vision. All Modi did was to go to Tianjin and take a photograph with Putin and Xi Jinping, but nothing really came out of it. In fact, India's relations with China got worse after that woman from UK who was flying to Japan but was born in Arunachal Pradesh stopped for she had a transition. She was transiting through Shanghai, and if you remember that scandal, it kind of ruined India's relationship with China a little bit. Israel has killed not millions but thousands, yes. Well, that's a statement, not a question. Well, the defense budget is coming tomorrow, Anurag. We'll see what Nirmala Sitaraman has to offer. The national budget is out. We will know. India's budget had been reduced a little bit. I think India had come down to $75 billion. And you must remember that the rupee has fallen significantly compared to dollar. So even if India's defense budget goes up in rupees, it could look lower than last year in dollars. We'll see what happens. I don't know what you mean by Saudi is broke. Not sure about that. Yes, its economy is going at 3 or 4%. It's oil rich. It may have taken some extra loans. I can't off the cuff recall what Saudi's current loan situation is. But it's a rich country, very rich country. If you don't understand this, then you can't say that you're a voice of the global South and you're a leader. We support the Palestinians. What do you mean you support the Palestinian people? If Modi told me that we support the Palestinian people, then I would say, yes, if you support them, they needed support. They were being massacred. What did you do? Isn't that a natural question to ask? If tomorrow Trump says, I love India and I support India, wouldn't you immediately say, yeah, then why the fuck are you imposing 50% tariffs on us? Wouldn't you say that to Trump right away? It's the same thing. Then don't say stupid shit like, oh my God, we support you guys, blah, blah, blah. We just sold a lot of weapons to Israel while they were killing you, but we support you. It doesn't make sense. You really have to be, the Arab countries have to be really dumb to buy this, really, honestly, or helpless and desperate. They have nowhere to go. There is no other superpower. China is not very active in the Middle East. Russia is not very active in the Middle East. And the US is fully under Israeli control as far as the Middle East policy is concerned. So they have nowhere to go. So even those crumbs that India is throwing them, like who invited Sudan to any international event this year? Who will? Can you imagine anybody inviting Sudan to a major international event? India did. The foreign minister of Sudan was here. So for them, this is wow. This is probably the biggest thing that is going to happen to them unless they are arrested and produced in the International Criminal Court. This is a stupid question. Islam is a religion. People hate people. Why do you hate whoever you hate? You should ask yourself. In India, there's so much hatred towards Muslims. Should we say, why does Hinduism hate Muslims? Why does Hinduism lynch Muslims? Why does Hinduism do this or that? No, we don't say that. Oh, we have some very brilliant people right now here, so I'm going to ignore them. Oh, wow. I don't know even what to make of this. Of course. Of course, you believe there's much more than an economy shapes foreign policy of the state. Yes, a vision of the leadership, strategic location, but the national capacity of a state is very important. If you are Sri Lanka, your foreign policy cannot be about being the dominant force in Asia. You have no capacity to do that. You need capabilities. And in order to have any form of capabilities, you need a good economy. Only a strong economy will allow you to have a strong defense. And that's why it is absolutely very, very critical. The sources of power come from geography, from your scientific technology. You cannot have scientific progress and development without having a strong economy. How will you do research if you don't have money? So economy is fundamentally important. Alok Sharma, uh, let me show you what kind of followers Prime Minister Modi has. And so there's a Sanskrit phrase which says Yatha Raja Tatha Praja. Okay? Yatha Raja Tatha Praja. So let me show you the Praja and then you decide the Raja. These are Modi supporters. Okay? This is Modi supporter. Yatha Raja Tatha Praja. Khan sir, Jilan Bill. Oh, let's see what Gilani Sabun Saab has to say. He's a supporter of conversation. He's a member. Please consider becoming a member. Billy Mara Ghalib, तेरे घर के क्या हाल है जो भी हाल है कश्मीर का भी बुरा हाल है. Hope that our humble request may be considered in view of federal status. I hope so. I mean, Amit Shah promised long ago that he would restore Kashmir's statehood, which is fundamentally important. Otherwise, the current government of Kashmir with Omar Abdullah is kind of useless because they have no power to do anything. They are not, security is completely in the hands of Amit Shah. He is responsible for the failures that led to Pahalgam. And everything else is in the hands of the governor. So yes, if you want to really have a genuine democracy in Kashmir, the statehood must be restored. Bali Maraya, some wonderful experiences of Ghalib. I'm going to do a brief show on Ghalib and finding his house. And this guy who was just abusing me, dirty words. Ghalib has a wonderful share that I can use for him. हर एक बात पे कहते हो तुम कि तू क्या है. हर एक बात पे कहते हो तुम कि तू क्या है. तुम ही कहो कि ये अंदाज गुफ्तगू क्या है. So at every time I say something, you say, who the hell are you, etc. Are you anti-national? Are you Muslim? Look at this, look at this. Who are you? And you tell me, is this the way to talk? It's very interesting. And then talk about civilization, our great civilization. Look at how I talk. If you don't have basic fundamental ethics, what kind of civilization do you represent? Uh, so the only reason Pakistan involving other peace was just getting dollars by sending their troops on ground. No, not really. They also make. Uh, India is the biggest peacekeeper. India was also making dollars and it was sending its troops all over for the UN. Not really. This is going to cement some kind of improve Pakistan's stature in the region. If it sends troops there and they're able to do well, it will increase Pakistan's leadership in the region. Many Arab countries will say, oh, this Pakistani army is pretty professional uh, and they can do the job. So we can use them for other purposes too. And it'll make Donald Trump happy and he might give them more than just dollars. People say all kinds of stupid shit. Boss, India's ruler is also not Orthodox Muslim and it is not safe. What kind of logic are you talking about? Amer, this is exactly the point I'm trying to make. They're not asking India to support them. They're not asking India for security as they ask America for that. You're right about India-Israeli ties. India is trying to balance this. This whole exercise today was to try to pretend that India has equal relations with Israel and the Arab League. It does not. Oh, very good question. This is the best question so far, even though it's off topic. Sir, if these free trade deals have the potential to increase per capita income of India, look, it depends on what India sells, right? Let us say that let's take the free trade agreement with EU. A lot of labor intensive uh, goods will be sold. So garments, chappals, leather goods, bags, all of this will go, which means that factories which are producing this stuff in India will sell more goods there in UK and sorry, in Europe. And they will obviously expand, and so they'll create more jobs. So all the young people in India who do not have jobs will get jobs. So, for example, if there's a family of five, and so far only if one person was working, and now they have four people working, then yes, it can potentially increase to some extent the per capita of it, but it depends on how much is. Look, India's economy is $4 trillion, and India's trade with Europe is just about $130 billion. So, what's 10% of $4 trillion is $400 billion. So, it's not even 10%. So, it's about 2.5 to 3% of India's GDP. So India EU trade is about 3% of India's GDP. Even it becomes double, then it will become 6% of India's GDP, or it will increase India's GDP by 150 billion dollars. So let's assume that. So $150 billion extra. Just add 150 billion to India's total GDP now and divide that by 1.5 billion, that is India's population. So 150 billion divided by 1.5, that's 100. So India's GDP will go up by $100. So India's GDP right now is 2.7, 2.8. It will become per capita, that is 2.8. So if it goes up by $100, it will become $2.9 billion, isn't it? It's not going to make you Viksit Bharat just by that. But the assumption is that it will increase more, there'll be more jobs, etc. It will definitely make things better for some people. right? And $200 extra is $100 extra. That is per person, is what we were calculating. Oh, I had tea today at the IIC, the International India International Center. I had a tea and meeting with the prominent economist, Dr. Santosh Mehrotra. He's kind of busy with the budget coming out tomorrow. So maybe in a week's time we will get together and really talk about it, because his new book is also coming out. India Out of Work, it's called, from Bloomberg. It is about unemployment in India. So I will have a session with him, and we will talk about how we can increase India's per capita income. It's fundamentally important. Total GDP doesn't make any difference, really. If tomorrow Adani makes, let's say, $150 billion profit because his stocks go up, on paper, India's GDP per capita will go up by $100 per person, but it doesn't really mean it will percolate down to you. So on paper, it'll look, okay, India is slightly richer, but no, it's all on the stock market. So there are lots of things, that we need to talk about as to how to have real wages in the hands of the middle class. In fact, so for example, if Adani gets $100 billion, it may just remain in stocks. But if ordinary people get $100, they can spend it, and that stimulates the market, creates jobs, etc. So there's a lot of complications on this. We will have a show on this. Don't worry. It's difficult for me to be traveling all day. Traffic is awful in Delhi. I'm meeting so many people. I'm trying to do 3 events per day. So I go to one university, give a lecture that takes about like 1 hour to get there, 2 or 3 hours of lectures and meetings with professors, students, then go to the next venue, another 2 3 hours, the think tank or something, then come back in heavy traffic. Now it's already 5 o'clock, to Center Delhi, and then meet with people. So I've been going to various clubs like the Constitution Club and other places, meeting. I've met lots of people. In this trip, I've met professors, members of the parliament. I've met people from political parties. I've met think tankers, lots of journalists, etc. So it's been fun. And I'm learning a lot also. While I'm sharing my views, I'm also learning a lot. Another member of Conversations. Hello, Sabia. How are you? Sir, do you think a South Asian Union a la European would be beneficial to India? Oh, it'll be it'll be the country that will benefit the most will be India. Like, except, I mean, it depends on to what extent you do. Let's say you have a common market, no politics. Like European Union is also political with the European Parliament, etc. Right? The deal that Modi made was with Ursula von der Leyen, who is the head of the European Union. She's not the head of any of the countries. So that's very sophisticated. But even if India just had an open market, then India makes better things than Pakistan does. The Pakistanis would just buy Indian stuff, Indian books for their schools, all of this, Indian phones, everything in the Pakistani industry will just collapse. There are very few areas in which Pakistan is more competitive than India or Sri Lanka, for that matter, and Bangladesh. So most of those countries will be reluctant to have complete free. So you could have something like a NAFTA kind of agreement, like the US has, US, Canada, and Mexico, the NAFTA 2.0, in which 85% of all goods, remember all this tariff talk that Trump is doing with Mexico and Canada is only over 15% of the trade. 85% of the trade is free trade that is governed by the NAFTA 2.0. So Canada is not hurt much because all this fight is over just 15% of Canada's exports to the US. 85% is protected by the NAFTA 2.0. So if India had a NAFTA-like arrangement here, India would benefit initially very much. But because Pakistan is poor, like Pakistan GDP is 1.6, So what's going to happen is lots of people will go and invest in Pakistan. So Pakistani labor market will benefit from Indian investors and businessmen hiring poor Pakistani labor. Bangladesh is expensive like India, but Bhutan would benefit, Nepal would benefit, etc. Right? Indian companies would start tourism industry in Sri Lanka. Things will be apps. I guarantee you that if you had an open market, like what is the total GDP of South Asia at the moment? Okay, so let's say the total GDP of India is 4.2, Pakistan is about 400, that's 4.6. Uh, Bangladesh is a little more than 400, so $5 trillion between these three countries. 20 about 5.5, not even 5.5. Let's say $5.1 trillion is the GDP of South Asia at the moment. Forget the 100; it's $5 trillion. I guarantee you, if they have free market within 5 years, they'll become a $6 trillion economy just like that, and most of it will be India. All countries will benefit. There's no doubt, but it'll take a little bit longer for countries, for Pakistan to get hardcore investments because it will enjoy a cheaper labor market. But for that, and I think because of the promise of investments coming from India, maybe even Bangladesh is investing, Sri Lanka is investing there, people investing in Bhutan, Nepal, young people are leaving Bhutan and running away. They will stop going, they'll come back. So, yes, it will happen, but the problem is Kashmir, and the Pakistanis and Indians both are simply refusing to solve that issue in an amicable way. In fact, they can still have a free market economy with that issue still remaining unresolved, but you need smart leaders. But great questions. Thanks for asking this. Thank you very much. Yeah, after this, I have to pack up and clean up clothes, etc. And yeah, lots of things to do. Uh, oh my God, mature minds, lot of tough question. White elephant. Uh, what's your question? Do you think if India remained under the Mughal rule, trade would be a superpower? It was a superpower under the Mughal rule, but the Mughal rulers lost it. Aurangzeb wasted so much money just trying to expand into the south. Wasted like decades of fighting. He attacked my hometown Hyderabad for 20 years or whatever. Stupid that was. Look, any country that is involved in war sure is going to lose out. They're not going to gain much. You kill people, you spend lots of resources, redirect money away. Look at what's happening to Russian economy. A lot of it is just being directed towards war machinery, etc. As soon as the war gets over, it's going to be in trouble because the war economy will not be useful in peaceful times. It is not. It is not helping. In fact, there's some problem there. The Rafales that India is buying, India is paying more and not getting source code. Take a look at it. Google that, Rafale source code. In fact, Google why, in spite of high cost, India is not getting source code from Rafale, because there's no customs, right? When Indian government buys something from anybody, they're not paying taxes on it. So, like if you and I bought Rafales, like forget about Rafale, if you and I bought a BMW, then yeah, we are paying some 110% tariffs. Now we will pay 40%. If we wait for a few more years, then we'll pay only 10% tariffs on BMWs from Germany in India. Uh, if the Indian government bought BMWs, they would not pay any tax on it because it's a government purchase. So they don't pay any tax on Rafale. So the free trade agreement is not going to help at all. What rubbish! I did a whole show on India EU free trade agreement. Go back and look. These Indians who pretend to be like very advanced in IT, don't you know how to do a simple search on YouTube? I'll show you. Go to YouTube channel and look around, and there'll be like a circle. Click that, and it'll give you a search option. Type EU, India, FTA, and see what pops up. Or ask some kid or neighbor how to do simple search in a YouTube channel. All right. So, oh, yes, another member. Hi, John Smith, long time. Sir, where can we listen to? Oh, well, I can't tell you on this show. All pretty nasty people are here, so I don't feel safe giving my location away. But what I'm going to do is I will share it and on the post when I do lectures. All right. So let me just ban a couple of losers. All right. So thank you everybody for watching Conversations. Please, I've been up here for more than an hour. So please like this video, press the bell icon, and share this video with others. Consider becoming a member of the channel. The biggest advantage of being a member is that periodically I have Zoom meetings. I'll have one probably in the closer to the end of the first week in February. I'm planning one for 6th, 7th of February. A meeting with a Zoom meeting, one on face to face, so we can talk face to face. Some of my Zoom meeting with members of the channel have gone for 2 hours, and I listen to their experiences. It's a lot of fun, you know. It's a lot of fun. Some people have been with me for 3 years. So take care. Bye. Thank you.